Hey everybody, Brandon Wagner here from Tribeca Color Salon, and I am with Tanya Fabian, who is one of my senior level stylists and also one of our team leaders at our Seminole Heights location. So we are starting our podcast series, so I wanted to invite her to come on over and give us some insight into what it's like to be a Tribeca stylist, especially for what great longevity she has had with the company. So first off, if I say just thank you so much for being with me for 15 years. You know, loyalty in this industry is hard to find. And it's not as if it's a bad or good thing. It's just the nature of the industry in a way. So just thank you so much for, you know, everything you've done. I know the way I look at you is like you're my personal cheerleader. And honestly, you've always been able to, you know, you've definitely helped me through some hard times. And I hope I can say the same that I do for you, but also just with work, you know, I know that you're always going to come with a smiling face. You're always going to find the bright side of anything that happens. So I really appreciate that because you definitely brought so much to Tribeca. You really have. So let's just ask you, oh, by the way, everybody, we are shooting in the home studio, which gives it just a little touch of authenticity. So you will notice that we have Grace Kelly walking around and the cats are fighting, so it'll be fun. Anyway, so Tanya, it's 15 years. Okay, so when did you first become a hairdresser? Do you remember what year that was?
2008 was the year that I graduated hair school, and then within, you know, a month of graduating hair school is when I started at Tribeca. And I don't know if you remember, I like to remind you this story. When I first applied for Tribeca and, you know, did the audition to be an apprentice, I didn't get the job. You had 2 spots available, and you had told me I was number 3 on the list, which I'm sure in my head, I'm like, he tells everyone that. But then, I don't know, maybe 2 days later, I got the call that your front desk manager or your front desk person was leaving, moving across the country. Did I want to get my foot in the door starting at the front desk? And I said, absolutely. And so I did that for about 6 months before I became an apprentice, and then did the apprentice program. Back then, the apprentice program, now the residency, for, I don't know, maybe 6 or 8 months. And then I got on the floor as a full-time stylist. And it was just, I knew that this was where I was supposed to be. It was the only salon that I really applied to and really put any stock in that I wanted to work here. And that was because when I came for a salon tour after I graduated hair school, I walked in and Brandon was the one that greeted the group and gave us a tour around, and I just felt the passion and the artistry and the inspiration and the motivation and just the progress of the salon. It was just the cool salon, the only one I'd ever heard of in Tampa, you know, at the time. And I just wanted to be there, you know, from the very start. It's the only place I wanted to be.
That's awesome. I appreciate it. So do you think that, I mean, and that's the truth. I totally remember that because it was weird because, like I said, I had 2 opportunities at that time, and there was 3 people I was interviewing, and unfortunately there were 3rd at that point. But then, you know, everything happened for a reason. That's happened to actually several of our senior level stylists. It's been a weird situation, so it's almost like fate, you know, things are meant to be. But do you think that actually doing that little bit of time behind the front desk actually helped you as a stylist?
100%. I think it's really important in the salon industry. Even if you're just working at the front desk, you get a good taste of salon reality. And I think that for my background, I had never even gotten my hair done in a salon except for, you know, an updo for prom or homecoming or something. My mom cut my hair in my kitchen growing up. So I had no idea of what it really means to work in a salon. So I was really grateful for those 6 months of kind of being in one spot and being able to watch all the inner workings of a salon and know what's happening behind the scenes, how to book, how to double book, how to, you know, each stylist worked a little differently, so knowing each of their techniques, and I definitely think it gave me a really good, like, pre-education into getting to be a stylist, you know?
Okay, so you definitely say that, you know, you're watching stylists as they're working, right? So you know that Tribeca is part of a dying breed of hair salons. So first of all, we have an apprentice program, which very few salons have anymore. And also we are a commission salon where we are more of a team where we are not worried about sharing clients. You know, we know that our clients will come back to us, but if somebody needs to take care of somebody, or if I'm in it and I need help, you know, people will step in and help with, you know, everything from color applications to black, etc. So that just makes a different vibe, right? And would you consider, like, what we have? We're a guest visitor. There you go. What would you say? We should change the name of the podcast to Cat's Hair.
I love it. I'll bring a cake next time.
But the thing is is, there's been some major changes in the industry, of course. And do you feel that you would be the same hairdresser today as if you had gone off, like say, on your own or in a salon that did not have an apprentice program or something?
I know I wouldn't. I know I wouldn't have the education that I do because, one, you get education without realizing it from absorbing it from your co-stylists. Without even attending a class, you're learning things if you're watching other people. That's one huge benefit of being in a salon like we have. Also, I think it's just helped grow me socially as a stylist. I think if I had to work by myself alone, I would be more withdrawn, I think, and maybe my clientele would be different. I definitely don't think I would be as inspired and motivated because you're kind of driven by the group around you. You see someone else learning something new and you think, wow, yeah, I want to learn that too. Or actually, there's this other technique I've been really wanting to look into. So I definitely think that working in a group environment fosters, group creativity and growth for sure, rather than just being alone in a loft. I think I would just get stuck with the voices in my head.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be any good.
I just feel that hairdressers in general are social creatures.
Yes.
And we need to be able to bounce ideas off of people and everything.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes down to education. I think the education has changed a lot. So you've been in the industry for 15 years. I've been doing hair for like 30. So when I first started out, literally it was only the back page of Modern Salon magazine. You had a tutorial that had a few steps.
Right.
And that was it. That's the only thing that you would get. Then of course, products started providing education, but that of course that was very product specific.
Yes.
Like you can only do this if you use our product.
Right.
Now it's evolved into the fact that everything is online, where you do some great digital content, but also you have a lot of influencers and such that so many people gravitate towards, like, oh my God, so-and-so does that, so I need to be doing that.
Right.
And it's interesting how that's kind of like changing the game a little bit. I know that for myself, I have definitely learned some stuff from some Instagram influencers and such, but there's a lot of times I'm like, wow, these people are saying this to a young stylist who doesn't know anything else. They're going to think that's the golden rule,
Right.
and they might be influenced in kind of the wrong way.
Right.
That's what I think about.
It does almost sully the pot a little, right? When there's so much education out there, it is a good thing, but to your point, how do you know what's the good stuff and what's the bad stuff, right? And a younger stylist might not know the difference between the two. And, especially when it comes to, extensions or something like that. If you're not using the proper technique, you will destroy hair. So if you don't know what you're doing, that can be a problem, same with chemicals. So it does scare me that there's a lot of at-home color that I feel like is happening and being encouraged. And while I'm all for budget-friendly, low-maintenance color, I don't think it's safe or advisable to be doing, a lot of color at home. And I think sometimes too, with the free education, people feel empowered to try, which is great in other aspects, but I don't think for chemicals and hair is necessarily the best.
Yeah, there's no barrier to a consumer
Right.
to watch those videos.
Right.
They can watch those videos just like we do. And they might say to themselves, well, shoot, that looks easy enough. I could probably do that on myself. Or I'll do it on my friend.
There you go.
And then the friend has to pay the price of getting it fixed at a shop. So what's been your worst possible client situation walking in the door, like with a color correction or something?
Oh, gosh. I don't know that I've had a really crazy one in a long time. I don't know. I mean, people do come in with some crazy stuff right now. I think almost anything can be a color correction, right? Because people come in with this picture that looks so easy from Instagram with the balayage and it looks very lived in, and they think, this is so easy, just put blonde on my hair.
Yeah, they watched a 15-second video.
That's
and they're
right.
like, why can't it take 15 seconds?
That's right. Why can't it take 15 seconds? And I think the reality of explaining that to people, how, yes, this might just be like for you a touch-up service, but because it's such a change, that's a color correction. So my color corrections now these days are more like a brunette walking in that wants to be a blonde balayage. And so I'm not necessarily correcting color, but I'm completely changing what's on their head. You know?
And that's the way we look at color correction. It's not just correcting a mistake, but it's a full-on change in color. And that's a lot of things that consumers are asking for. So let me ask this, let me rephrase it then. What is what's the most highest demand expectation you've ever had to fulfill on a client?
You know, like just a major change, something like that. You know, like black box color I've been using for the past 10 years. And I don't want any of my hair cut off, but I want to be a platinum blonde. I have 1.5 hours and $100. You know, it's that kind of those parameters that just feel so unrealistic, and you don't want to not be able to give someone the service they want, but I mean, come on, you got to get, you know, it has to be a give and take. You know, what's more important? Having the color that you want on your hair or having the cut that you want, you know?
Or hair on your head.
Or hair on your head. Yeah, that's the conversation I have a lot with people that are having a hard time. You know, maybe they have very, very thin hair and they want to be very blonde, but they also want it to be very long, you know? I have a few of those right now, and it's just trying to find that balance of giving them the look that they want, but not compromising their hair, you know? I don't even know if that answered your question.
No, it didn't. But I think that that's the big thing for us is, you know, we do not want to compromise hair.
Right.
And I know that I've empowered all of you guys to say no.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you have somebody that comes in with a situation that you know that their hair is just going to melt off their head with the chemical, you know, we just got to say no. And a lot of clients don't understand that. I always think the funniest story for me is I had a client come in, she had box black hair, and she wanted to be platinum blonde. Her perception is that platinum hair color was literally painted on as a white surface, kind of like white out.
Right.
And she thought that you could just cover the black with white and boom, it'd be done.
Yes.
And I'm like trying to explain to her that, you know, the decolorization process, etc. And she just didn't get it. And it's funny because that's when our conversations have changed a lot with when we're talking to our clients about the idea of, you know, let's say that you do a box black hair color and you've been doing it roots to ends for years and years. Really, the tool I need to get that off is basically like a chisel.
Right.
And I'm going to have to remove those layers of color before we can even see what's left over. And a lot of people don't have any idea that that's the consequence of doing home hair color.
And that's a good way to describe it, chisel away, because that, I think, allows you to understand that it is going to damage your hair. We do it slowly and carefully and as healthy as possible, but that will in turn just do some damage.
Totally.
It's hard, you know, you never want to tell someone no, but you also have to be realistic with them, you know. My integrity is more important than your money in my hand right now, and I would rather tell someone no and keep it safe than have them upset, and then there's, you know, an adjustment, and it just gets so messy. I do remember now, years ago, I had a client that came in with red henna, and she had been putting henna on her hair for, I think, like 1 to 3 years. It was a length of time, and she, of course, wanted to be a platinum blonde. And in fact, I think I called you about her just to get a backup, and I just did not. We consulted for about 45 minutes, and I was trying to convince her anything that we could do to not put bleach on her hair. Because I was trying to explain to her that one, henna, you know, and the bleach, that's just going to make your hair break off, you know. And we're going to be lifting through so much pigment that there's no way to not be a copper or a golden blonde on your way up, you know.
100%.
And she just did not understand. So I finally did a strand test on her to show her this is what your color's going to do. And then she finally understood it, but she just really full on, if I had just started painting lightener on her head, she would have let me. And I guarantee her hair would have just fallen off. You know? So.
Henna in general, just to let you know, if you know, henna is a vegetable dye. Inherently it is not bad, but the thing is a lot of the brands of henna that you actually purchase actually have metallic salts in there.
Yes.
And metallic salts and the ingredients that we use in our professional color and lightener systems are just not really compatible whatsoever. So
very damaging.
It's not a good mix whatsoever. I've seen some really crazy stuff happen. So that being said, new stylist, fresh on the floor, fresh to coming to Tribeca to work. What's your words of wisdom about, you know, interacting with clients and dealing with situations just like that? Because you've learned a lot about how to deal with people.
So much. I think one, as a fresh stylist, first give yourself grace. You know, you've got a lot to learn and you will learn it. Be willing to be uncomfortable. Be willing to put yourself outside your comfort zone to learn something. The more mistake, you know, not horrible mistakes, but the more mistakes that you make because of trial and error, the more you're going to learn in the long run, you know? So not that you want to go out there making mistakes, but take advantage of learning when you do. I think, carry cards with you everywhere you go, and anytime someone brings up hair, hand them a card. I can't tell you how many cards I hand that out in a bar, just making conversation. Everyone wants to do a consultation, in the middle of the bar while they're taking a shot. But, yeah, pounding the pavement, get your name out there, ask questions too, I think, from all the senior stylists. In Tribeca, I think that the younger stylists that go the furthest, the fastest, are the ones that ask the most questions. They come over and they're analyzing how you're placing the color, what formulas you're using, and why, and just wanting to understand why you're doing what you're doing. And I think that that is the best way to learn, gather as much knowledge as you can from every individual, because like we said, every stylist is a little bit different. Yeah, I love talking to people too. So that's one of my favorite things about doing hair, is getting to just be personable with different humans and making connections and, getting to style someone's hair, make them smile, and maybe even help solve a problem that's going on in their personal life. I don't know.
Oh, totally. I think that it's one of the biggest aspects of being a hairdresser is the relationships that we build with our clients, because that's what we do. Yeah. You have 90 minutes or so with somebody, you get to know everything about them, and if you build a relationship for a long period of time. So I've been in Tampa since 1997, right? Yeah. So that's 30 years, I guess, or 25 years or so, and I still see people that I took care of back then. Yeah. And just to see the evolution of their family, themselves, good and bad that goes on and everything. That for me is a big aspect of being a hairdresser. And it's so interesting because, in our industry, you can take so many paths with your career. You can really just never work on a normal person. You can just do models and just do photo shoots and such, or you can work in a great clips and just do clip cuts all day long for 15 minutes at a pop if you want to. Or you can work at a place like us where we do mixtures of color and cut, male and female clients, and really, especially at our price point, we're not churn and burn. We want to spend time with our clients and we get to build relationships with them. And you really get to see a lot of change in people's lives. So I think that that's, for me, I love the fact that we have such impact on people in their daily lives, because we make them feel better, right? No matter what. People are going to come in, they've got the gray roots and they're just like feeling like older, they just don't have the energy. And then you take those grays away and all of a sudden they feel like they're 10 years younger. Yeah. So I really do feel that the relationship aspect is huge.
I agree. Yeah, even one of my clients tomorrow, she has been coming to Tribeca since before I started here, and I'll be 16 years in August. So 16 to 17 years she's been coming to Tribeca. I did her hair for her wedding. I took her over from Steven years ago. Did her hair for her wedding. I've cut her kids' hair. Now her boys are growing up. It's it's so cool to see that, like you said, the evolution of family, and still, they're literally the longest relationships in my life besides my immediate family.
Wow, yeah, you're right.
Isn't that interesting?
That is wild. I've never even thought about it, yeah. Unless you have like long-term friends. Yeah. And I moved a lot when I was younger, so I really didn't have a lot of connections. So yeah, I totally agree with you.
And they know so much about our lives, right? Because they've been with us for so long.
They ask you these questions sometimes. I'm like, oh, I told you that?
That vacation you went on, you remember that?
Yeah, it's pretty well.
That is pretty cool. So. I do love that. It makes me so happy to know that, people care about me too.
Yeah. I think that COVID showed how important we are to people.
Yes.
Really. I feel that once we were shut down, people realized that, of course, the services that we provide, but also, we do provide mental health services for people without a license. But it just, I do feel that people were like, whoa, I don't have that person to talk to. I don't have that schedule. Because you think about how many of our people, especially our gentlemen, that are there in every 3 weeks, every 4 weeks, and if they lose that momentum, that does something to you.
It does to your psyche, I think, without even realizing it. It's like you said, it's part of your schedule, it's part of your maintenance, part of just kind of like who you are as a person, keeping your hair looking the same way. So yeah, it did definitely change a lot. I had always said, I have never felt more validated in my career than after COVID. Yep. And every single person that would sit in my chair was just so grateful to be there for that haircut, And it really almost made me emotional sometimes. It just me being here doing your job is really helping you that much. That's incredible, It made me really appreciate being a hairdresser, even more than I already did.
So what would you say to a person who is kind of like lost in their career, or they're just like maybe they're in high school or graduating, they don't know if they want to go to college or not. What would you say the pros and cons of being a hairdresser are for like as a career?
As a career, I mean, well, especially with our hours, you get to sleep in, so that's real great. But,
I figured that's a good way anymore.
I think for me, I'm a very creative person, but I can't really paint. I can't really sculpt, you know? So for me, hair is the medium that I didn't even know I needed. And so when I found it, I just felt like, okay, this is where everything clicks and comes together, you know? I think and I always thought I was going to go to college, you know? I did really well in school. I was a good student. College seemed like the natural path, and I did it for, you know, about a year and a half, and I just felt like, this isn't me, you know? So just to maybe anybody out there who's struggling to find what they think they want to do, doing hair is so incredible, because to Brandon's point, you can work behind a chair and have a clientele and let that be your career, or you can be a traveling artist. If you want to travel the world, you could be a stage educator, and you could travel the country and the world and educate. You can do fashion shows if you're really into fashion and you started with hair and then you're in the fashion world. You know, there's so many routes to take. You can go work on movie sets, you know, and do commercials. You can work at the news station. You could be a private stylist for, you know, anybody, you know. Yeah, call me if you need anybody. So yeah, there's just so much to do with the career. It's so interesting. You could take it any way that you wanted. And you get to be creative, you get to talk to people, and depending on how it works, you can really control your hours a lot in a way. So, yeah. I mean, it's the best job in the world. I think everybody should do it.
Yes, most definitely. I agree. Okay. Well, so on that note, I guess we shall conclude. You're wonderful to talk to, as always. It's kind of funny. I just felt like we were just bantering.
Yeah, I know. I agree. I hope we can talk forever.
Yes, very much so. So thank you for tuning into our podcast. Once again, this is Tanya Fabian. She is one of our team leaders at the Seminole Heights location. She is available for new clients if you are taking some new clients. So thank you so much. Once again, the reason why we're doing this podcast is because we are celebrating our 25-year anniversary this year, and we're going to do many more of these, and they probably will evolve as they go through. Probably shut the door so the animals don't come in, so that they don't bother us as much. But I do love my animals, so I can't help that. So, all right. So hopefully we'll see you next time, and thank you so much for tuning into our Tribeca podcast. Thank you.